The rain had been falling since dawn, tapping softly against the window like hesitant fingers asking to be let in. Sarah Mitchell sat on the edge of her bed, staring at a small framed photograph resting on the bedside table. It showed a smiling little boy with messy brown hair and bright eyes full of questions. Her son, her world, her loss. It had been 7 years since Daniel passed away. 7 years since the hospital room filled with silence instead of his laughter. 7 years since Sarah learned how to breathe with half a heart. The doctors had called it sudden, an illness that arrived quietly and left destruction behind. Daniel was only 6. After that day, Sarah stopped calling herself a mother. She donated Daniel's toys, packed away his clothes, and avoided parks and playgrounds. Friends tried to help, but grief is a lonely road, and Sarah walked it alone. She returned to her job as a librarian, surrounded by stories, yet unable to believe in happy endings anymore. Until one rainy afternoon changed everything. Sarah had stayed late at the library, organizing old donations. As she locked the door and stepped outside, she noticed a small figure sitting under the broken bus stop nearby. A little girl, drenched, hugging her knees, eyes wide with fear. Sarah's heart skipped. She walked closer. "Hey, are you okay?" she asked gently. The girl looked up. Her face was pale, her hair tangled and wet. I don't know where my mama is," she whispered. Sarah wrapped her coat around the child without thinking. "What's your name?" "Lily." They waited together while Sarah called the local shelter and police station. No missing child had been reported yet. Lily clung to Sarah's hand as if it were the only solid thing left in the world. That night, Lily stayed at Sarah's apartment temporarily, with official permission. Sarah gave her dry clothes, old ones she had never thrown away, and warm soup. As Lily slept curled up on the couch, Sarah sat awake, watching her chest rise and fall. For the first time in years, the apartment didn't feel empty. Days turned into weeks. Lily's mother was never found. Social services discovered the truth slowly. Neglect, abandonment, a broken past too heavy for a child to carry. Lily was placed in foster care, but she cried every night, asking for Sarah. Sarah told herself not to get attached. But attachment doesn't ask permission. She visited Lily every week. They read books together, baked cookies, and talked about everything and nothing. Lily laughed easily, but sometimes woke up screaming at night. When she did, she always reached out and whispered, "Please don't leave." And Sarah never did. When the adoption process was suggested, fear wrapped itself tightly around Sarah's heart. She was terrified, not of loving Lily, but of losing again. She had already buried one child. She wasn't sure she could survive another goodbye. But one evening, Lily looked at her with serious eyes and asked, "Do you think I could call you Mom?" Sarah's breath caught. She didn't answer right away. She pulled Lily into her arms, held her close, and for the first time in 7 years, cried without trying to stop herself. "Yes," she whispered, "if you want to." The paperwork took months. Doubts crept in during sleepless nights. What if she failed? What if she wasn't enough? What if love wasn't enough? But love showed up anyway. On the day the adoption became official, Lily ran into Sarah's arms in the courthouse hallway. "We're a real family now," she said, smiling so wide it hurt. Sarah laughed through tears.
Yes.
We are. That night, as Lily slept in her new room, Sarah stood in the doorway, watching her. Moonlight spilled across the bed, illuminating Lily's peaceful face. Sarah felt something unfamiliar but warm bloom inside her chest, not replacing the love she had for Daniel, but standing beside it. She placed Daniel's photo on Lily's shelf. You'd like her, Sarah whispered into the quiet room. She reminds me of you. Years passed. Sarah learned that being a mother again didn't mean forgetting her first child. It meant carrying both loves together. She attended school plays, helped with homework, kissed scraped knees, and listened to teenage heartbreaks. She laughed again. Real laughter, the kind that fills a room. One evening, Lily, now 12, asked, "Do you ever get sad?" Sarah nodded. Sometimes. But you're happy too, right? Sarah smiled softly.
Yes.
I am. Because life had taught her something precious, that love doesn't run out. It expands. It waits. And sometimes, after you think your heart is broken beyond repair, it finds a way to beat again. Sarah Mitchell was a mother once. And somehow, beautifully, she became a mother again. The first real test of motherhood came quietly, the way storms often do, without warning. Lily was 14 when everything began to change. She stopped talking as much. Her laughter became rare, like a song forgotten halfway through. She spent more time in her room, door closed, headphones on, walls up. Sarah noticed it, of course. Mothers always do. But she waited, giving Lily space, remembering how fragile teenage years could be. One afternoon, the school called. Lily was involved in a fight, the principal said carefully. She's not hurt, but we think she needs support. Sarah's hands trembled as she held the phone. At home, Lily sat at the kitchen table, eyes fixed on the floor. Her knuckles were red. Do you want to tell me what happened? Sarah asked gently. Lily shook her head. They said I'm not your real daughter. The words cut deeper than any scream. Sarah knelt in front of her. And what did you say? I said you chose me. And that hurt them more, so they laughed. Tears spilled over. What if they're right? What if one day you regret it? Sarah cupped Lily's face, forcing her to look up. Listen to me. Being a mother isn't about blood. It's about staying. I stayed. And I will keep staying. That night, Lily had a nightmare. She screamed Sarah's name, gasping for air, shaking like she was 5 again instead of 14. Sarah held her until dawn, whispering the same promise over and over. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. But fear had a voice, and it spoke loudly. A few weeks later, a letter arrived. Lily's biological mother had been found.
She wanted to meet.
The air seemed to leave the room. Sarah read the letter 3 times, each word heavier than the last. Old fears rushed back, memories of hospital hallways, of loss she never recovered from. She showed Lily the letter that evening. Lily's hands shook. Do I have to go? No, Sarah said immediately. Nothing happens without your choice. Silence stretched between them. I want to know, Lily finally said. But I'm scared. So am I, Sarah admitted. But we'll face it together. The meeting took place in a small office with pale walls and no windows. Lily sat between Sarah and the social worker, fingers tightly wrapped around Sarah's sleeve. Her biological mother looked tired, older than she should have been. Her eyes filled with tears when she saw Lily. I never stopped loving you, the woman said softly. Lily's voice cracked. Then why did you leave? The question hung in the air, unanswered. I wasn't strong enough, the woman whispered. But you are. Sarah watched silently, her heart aching, not with jealousy, but with understanding. Love could exist in broken forms. It didn't make her love smaller. When it was over, Lily walked out without looking back. In the car, she was quiet. Do you hate me for wanting to know her? Lily asked suddenly. Sarah pulled over and turned to her.
No.
I love you for being brave. That night, Lily slipped into Sarah's bed, like she used to when she was younger. Will I ever stop being scared? Lily asked. Sarah brushed her hair gently. Maybe not completely, but fear gets quieter when love speaks louder. Years later, when Lily graduated high school, she looked into the crowd and searched for Sarah first. Not out of habit, but out of certainty. After the ceremony, Lily hugged her tightly. You didn't give birth to me, she whispered, but you gave me a life. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. In that moment, she understood something she had once been too afraid to believe. She hadn't replaced the child she lost. She had honored him by choosing love again, even when it hurt. And Lily? Lily didn't just find a mother. She found home. Time has a strange way of healing some wounds while gently reopening others. Lily was 26 when she stood in front of the mirror, one hand resting on her stomach, the other trembling slightly. The apartment was quiet, but her heart was loud, beating with fear, hope, and something wonderfully unfamiliar.
Life.
She smiled through tears. The first person she wanted to tell was Sarah. Sarah was in the kitchen when Lily arrived, chopping vegetables the way she always did. Slow, careful, patient. The same hands that had tied Lily's shoelaces, wiped her tears, and held her through nightmares. Mom, Lily said softly. Sarah turned. You okay, sweetheart? Lily took a breath. I'm going to have a baby. For a moment, the knife slipped from Sarah's hand and hit the counter with a dull sound. A baby, she whispered. Lily nodded, eyes shining. You're going to be a grandmother. Sarah laughed, then cried, then pulled Lily into her arms so tightly Lily could barely breathe. She hadn't realized how much she needed this moment, how much her heart had been waiting. That night, Sarah sat alone in her bedroom, staring once again at the photograph of Daniel, the same one she had looked at years ago in silence and pain. I didn't know this would happen, she whispered, but thank you. She placed the photo beside a tiny pair of baby socks Lily had left on the table. When Lily went into labor months later, it was Sarah who rushed her to the hospital. It was Sarah who held her hand through the pain, whispering encouragement, reminding her to breathe, reminding her she was not alone. And when the baby finally cried, strong, alive, demanding the world, Lily broke down. It's a girl, the nurse said, smiling. Lily looked at Sarah. Can you hold her first? Sarah froze. Are you sure? Lily nodded. You held me first in every way that mattered. Sarah's arms trembled as she took the tiny bundle. The baby opened her eyes, dark and curious, staring straight into Sarah's face. In that moment, Sarah felt time collapse.
Grief. Love. Loss. Healing.
All existing together. Hello, Sarah whispered. Welcome. They named her Hope. Years passed again, quietly, beautifully. Sarah watched Lily become the kind of mother she never doubted she would be, gentle, fierce, imperfect, loving. Sometimes Lily would call late at night, exhausted and overwhelmed. I don't know if I'm doing this right, Lily would say. Sarah always answered the same way. Neither did I. And somehow that was enough. On Hope's 5th birthday, the family gathered in the backyard. Balloons floated in the air. Laughter filled the space where silence once lived. Hope climbed onto Sarah's lap and asked, "Grandma, were you always a mommy?" Sarah paused. She looked at Lily, who smiled knowingly. "No," Sarah said softly. "I became one. Twice." That evening, after everyone left, Sarah sat alone again, but this time, the quiet felt peaceful. She walked into the small study and opened a drawer she hadn't touched in years. Inside were Daniel's drawings. She placed one beside a photo of Lily and Hope together. And finally she understood. Motherhood wasn't a single moment or a single child. It was a choice, made again and again, to love, to stay, to risk your heart even when it had already been broken. Sarah Mitchell had lost a son. She had gained a daughter. And through that daughter, she found a future she never thought she deserved. She wasn't just a mother again. She was whole again,